Hello family, and welcome to our first weekly overview video. Before we start, please take some time to read our disclaimer. Please note that the analysis in this video are my personal view and not financial advices. The analysis are for educational purposes only, for you to learn how to use RHTL indicator. As usual, we'll start with the DXY, then we'll check our open trades, and we go over the major pairs, USD pairs, then we check AUD and CHF pairs, and on the next video we'll go over the remaining JPY, Euro and GBP pairs. We always check our daily and weekly time frames first to draw our levels and do our price action analysis, then dive into H4 and H1 to look for potential setups and triggers. Okay, so let's start. The XY on the weekly time frame is sitting on a strong resistance area, our red zone. On the daily time frame, we can see a classic divergence here, showing us that the bulls are exhausted and the bears are in control now. So for now we have two confluences, the rejection zone 1, 2, 3 and objective one, and our divergence on daily. So we can zoom in to look for entries on H4 and H1. So here we have on H4 an objective channel in blue and an objective ascending triangle in purple with their last swing standing already broken. So the XY is overall bearish as long as it's still below our red zone. Now it's sitting on a minor rejection zone in gray, as you can see here, but it's overall bearish. So let's wait and see what happens. Next we have our open trade on NZD-CAD. We start with the weekly time frame. As you can see here, we have a rejection on our long-term trend line in brown. The bulls tried to break above it many times but couldn't, forming 3 rejection candles. As you can see, a very big wicks from the upper side. We also have a rejection zone in blue found on daily time frame objectively. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, a very strong one. So here we already have two confluences, our trend line rejection and our zone. So we can start to think short on this one and dive in and search for setups and triggers. So we dive into H4, we can find that earlier we had a divergence, means that the bulls couldn't trade higher and are exhausted, and we can expect a shift in momentum, especially at this rejection area here. So we've got a double top in here, and the way we trade it is always we go for the swing in between as our last swing standing. Even if we zoom into H1 time frame, we've got a trend line, objective trend line, and a ascending triangle pattern. We entered this one at the beginning of last week, but we closed it because we have this sudden spike in the Asian session on Thursday, but we decided to re-enter as we had this rejection candle on H4 with a very small stop loss because the market was crazy last week. Now even if next week our stop loss is hit, we can always look for entry opportunities around here because NZD-CAD is overall bearish as long as it's still below this area here. Next, we are also holding a sell on USD-CAD. Here we have our weekly chart. Here we got a very strong supply zone in gray and a strong rejection area in blue found objectively on daily time frame, 1, 2, 3 touches, 4, 5, a very strong one. Price tried to break above it but couldn't as it found rejection on our supply zone on weekly and daily time frame. So we've got one confluence here at least. If we zoom to H4 time frame, we can see that we have like a bow and arrow pattern. Price tried to break above this zone and the upper line of the channel but couldn't, and rejoin the zone and the channel again aggressively. And if we zoom to H1, we've got a channel, objective one in red, and consolidation here in purple, forming like a rectangle. was both last swing standing here, so our entry was at the momentum candle close below our last swing standing, and we always go for a 2-2R risk reward. Now it's sitting at plus 1R. We also have a divergence here, so 1, 2, 3 confluences and the rejection zone here. Now we may find some rejection around this trend line, but we shouldn't have any problem with this one, as the weekly candle close was very aggressive, engulfing the last 2 weekly candles. Next we have gold. The overall trend is bullish on gold. We caught a buy on this one on the H4 time frame because of the first confluence, rejection of the trend line. Then we've got a head and shoulders pattern and its neckline. This one hit CP on Friday, and for now we don't have any potential setups. So gold now is taking a break because it found a rejection area here and the gray area. So here we can expect a little retest before another jump up, or we can expect a reversal here. So let's wait and see on this one. Next we have USD JPY. As you can see, it's retesting our long-term trend line on the weekly time frame, 1, 2, 3 on objective trend line, and it's also sitting on a very strong support level, couldn't break below it. This level is found objectively on daily time frame, 1, 2, 3 touches. Even the blue one is found objectively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, very strong ones. And you also have this trend line retest, so 1 confluence, 2 confluence and 3 confluences are enough to zoom in and start looking for long opportunities. We zoom in on H4. Here we have a setup we entered 2 weeks ago and hit our take profit on Thursday, so let's delete it. Now we're waiting to go long around here. We don't have a potential setup on H4, so we can zoom into H1. Here we've got a 1, 2, 3 and objective trend line. Now we're waiting for a fourth touch to form around here, red dot, and consider our last swing standing, and then we can enter on a break above this trend line and the rejection zone as well. Let's move on to USD CHF. Here we have a weekly time frame sitting on a very strong resistance area, 1, 2, 3 touches. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that it's trading inside a symmetrical triangle, and we've got a divergence here, means that the bears are in control for now. If we zoom in on H4, we can find a head and shoulders pattern with its neckline already broken. We entered this one like 2 weeks ago, but I decided to exit as it's very ranging. I don't like such markets, so I decided to stay away from this one until it cooled down. So now we are expecting a move like this and maybe a rejection here as a continuation trade. So we can draw this line, a 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and you can wait for it to get here and then enter on a break above this one, objectively of course. So let's delete those lines, and then when price reaches around here, we will look for short opportunities around here, around our resistance area. But for now, let's wait on this one. Now we have AUD USD. As you can see, we had a big spike on AUD on the Asian session on Thursday, but AUD USD found rejection here around this strong demand area on weekly time frame and on daily time frame. If we zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we also have a divergence here. Here's our demand zone, and here's our rejection zone, 1, 2, 3, 4, very strong one. Also, price is retesting this objective channel found on H4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, a very strong one as well. So 3, 4 confluences are enough to start looking for potential setups. We also have a divergence on H4 time frame, but we don't have a objective setup to enter this one. So let us zoom on H1. Here we have a 1, 2, 3 objective trend line, and here is our last swing standing, already broken on Friday, but I personally do not enter new trades on Fridays. So now we are waiting for a retest around here to jump in. If the retest didn't happen, we can always enter around here. It depends on the case and the setup. NZD USD, we already have a running setup here, but we didn't enter it last week because we had so many NZD open trades. Here we have a rejection zone, many touches, very strong one, and a long-term trend line retest. On the H4 time frame, we've got a divergence and a head and shoulders pattern with its objective neckline and last swing standing break. So the entry would be here and the stop loss would be here. This trade already reached 1 hour, and as I usually say, we do not jump in now if the trade already reached 1 hour before our entry. So now what we can do is we can wait for a retest till around here or around our blue zone, rejection zone, to look for short setups. GBP USD, here we've got a very strong rejection candle right here, very strong wick from the downside, sitting on a strong rejection area found objectively on daily time frame. 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, a very strong one. We also got a divergence on daily time frame, so 1 confluence, 2 confluences, the area, and you can consider this rejection candle as a confluence as well. So we can start to look for entries. Here we've got also a divergence on H4 and a head and shoulders pattern with an objective trend line, a 3 touches trend line. We could enter here, but as I mentioned last week, I prefer to stay away from GBP for last week, so we didn't enter this one. Now we can look for re-entry opportunities if it breaks above this last swing standing as a more confirmation. And our last USD pair, Euro USD, as you can see, it's sitting on a strong resistance area around here, our red zone, and we also have a divergence confirming a rejection. If you remember 1 month ago, I told you to be careful on Euro USD as we're gonna experience manipulation and stop loss hunting. As you can see, it's stuck in a range, sudden spikes. We also have a divergence on H4 and head and shoulders pattern, and I told you not to enter this one as long as it's still below our long-term trend line in brown. So we are still waiting for a break above this area here to consider buying this one. AUD CAD, we've got a potential setup on this one last week, but we missed it. Head and shoulders pattern with divergence on resistance round number 0.98. We didn't catch this one, but it hit take profit, so we are staying away from this one for now until it reach the blue zone or our red zone to look for more opportunities. AUD NZD, just like AUD USD, AUD made a big spike on Thursday night but found rejection area, which is a demand area here, ended up closing bullish. So price tried to break below this symmetrical pattern, objective one, but couldn't. So we may experience a bow and arrow pattern right here, but we need AUD NZD to close inside the range again to confirm our bow and arrow pattern. So we zoom in to look for break inside the range. We've got a divergence here and an objective channel, so 1, 2, 3, 4 confluences are enough to look for long opportunities, but we need AUD NZD to break inside the channel, so our entry would be around here and our stop loss would be below those swings right here. So let's wait on this one. AUD CHF, just like any AUD pair, tried to break below but couldn't and closed as a bullish, so we need to start looking for long opportunities. Here we have a divergence is already forming but not confirmed yet. If you zoom into H4 chart, We've got an old setup here, already hit TP last week, so let's delete it. We don't have any objective setup here, so we zoom in to H1, but we have a divergence here. We zoom into H1. We've got an objective trend line already broken on Friday, but we didn't enter because we don't enter on Fridays. I personally don't. We also have a divergence confirming our trade. Our entry would be around here, our stop loss, and we go for 2 to 1 risk reward ratio. I'll personally wait on this one until it cools down and make a little retest, and will enter if I have a good risk reward ratio setup. Now we have CAD-CHF. Just like AUD-CHF, tried to break below this symmetrical triangle but couldn't, ended up forming like a bow and arrow pattern. This time it's confirmed as price closed back inside the range, so we've got a bow and arrow here. Let's look for opportunities. We dive in. We can't draw any objective trend line here, but we got a divergence. We zoom into H1. Here we go. We have a head and shoulders pattern and an objective trend line. We could enter around here, so we can wait for a retest on this one to jump in around here with our stop loss as usual below the right shoulder and 2 to 1 risk reward. The last pair for this video will be NZD-CHF. We've got an open trade last week on this one. On H4 time frame, a rejection of the blue zone, head and shoulders pattern and divergence, 3 confluences with a objective trend line. So 4 confluences for this one. Our entry would be a last swing standing close, candle close below it. So we entered around here, and our target was a 2 to 1 risk reward ratio. We closed this one around plus 2R after the sudden spike on Thursday night. So for now we've got a potential setup on H1. Let's delete this one as it's already done. We've got a divergence and an objective channel already broken, so we can wait for a retest and jump on this one. But I honestly will enter with half risk on this one, as it's not on a strong rejection area. It's a rejection area but not that strong like those ones, so we'll think twice before entering this one, unless we've had another confluence around here like a head and shoulders pattern. We already have a head and a left shoulder, so waiting for a right shoulder to form and maybe this objective trend line to be confirmed, and then enter on its break upward. That's it for this video, part 1. See you on the next one to go over JPY, Euro and GBP.